Some of the questions I get the most when it comes to Quake Champions all pertain to aim, particularly weapon accuracy and mouse sensitivity. Let's talk about how to pick a mouse sensitivity that works best for you in order to perform better. While this intro is going to focus purely on Quake Champions, the advice inside can apply to any shooter out there. Let's start with some theory about selecting your mouse sense. There is no correct mouse sense. There is no optimal mouse sense. You cannot be right or wrong when it comes to mouse sense. Copying my sensitivity, or that of a professional player, or even your buddy on Steam, is not necessarily going to do you any good at all. In order to pick a sensitivity, you have to identify what's important to you as a player relative to your game of choice. Are you aggressive, oftentimes up in people's faces while playing fast? Are you more control heavy with more focus on medium to long range fights? Do you blend both of these styles or maybe do something else entirely? Only upon honestly answering these questions can you start to figure out what a good sensitivity for your use case might actually look like. These questions are going to give you an immediate answer as to why Counter-Strike players oftentimes have 80cm 360s, while Quake players often have a quarter of that. First, let's walk through the mental gymnastics that I followed to approximate my sensitivity. I tend to prefer a mid-range positioning when taking fights, doing what I can to prevent the enemy from closing on me while leaving myself open to close on them should the need arise. I usually play chaotic game modes like Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, or Capture the Flag, while not paying absolute attention to the game that I'm playing, so I'm liable to have traps sprung on me from the sides and from behind. Because I'll often find myself out of control in game modes like this, I need a sensitivity that'll allow me to perform rapid turns without compromising too much of my ability to aim accurately. So I'm going to go for the slowest possible sensitivity that'll still let me make big turns in surprise close range fights without picking up my mouse. For this, I'm going to pick an arbitrary number and roll with it. I would like to be able to turn about, let's say, 270 degrees in any direction with one sweep of my mouse, starting from the neutral position of my hand on the mouse mat. The reason for this is pretty simple. If I'm shot from behind and I spin around in a clockwise fashion, and my opponent starts pushing past me to my right, I need to be able to continue tracking them without the delay of picking up and recentering my mouse. If they're able to get all the way around me like that, thus requiring a 360 degree turn from me, then they've bested me, and I'll accept the fact that I'm gonna be at an extra disadvantage in that extremely rare situation. The benefits of a low sensitivity, in my opinion, outweigh the risks. What I gain from sensitivity like this is added control of my hit scan weapons in most fights. I can better track with the lightning gun, I can more accurately place my railgun shots where I need them, and it's easier to reliably hit things with the machine gun. If somebody shoots me from behind, and they're not point blank, when I pull my 180 degree turn, I've still got plenty of mouse pad left to start tracking them instantly, without having to spend time recentering my mouse. This feels good to me, so I stick with it. Now, I know, this is all very boring. Frothy, you suck. Get to the real video already, stop wasting our time, but really, I have to reiterate what I said at the start of this video. I cannot and will not tell you what is a correct or most optimal sensitivity. This is purely subjective, and you have to figure it out for yourself. I'm merely trying to guide you through your thought process, to give you the tools that you need to make an educated guess about where you realistically should be, and then you can tweak things from there. Alright, fine. I'll budge a little bit. My mouse settings in Quake Champions and Titanfall 2, which are on very similar engines, are as follows. I run 1200 DPI with a sensitivity multiplier of 0.916667. I know this is an incredibly dumb multiplier, but it's what I got used to from playing games on different engines, and this is the closest approximation that I could math over to Quake's engine by using mousesensitivity.com. This sensitivity maths out to a 360 of 14.876 inches or 37.785 centimeters. Compared to most, but not all Quake players, my sensitivity is very low. I have a very large mouse pad, one of the kind that's very wide and takes up a significant portion of my desk. This means that I've got a lot of room to move, allowing me to keep that sensitivity nice and low while still having room to swing. I would strongly recommend purchasing one for yourself if you're able to do so and you're serious about improving your aim. I'll leave some Amazon affiliate links in the description box below for you to look at some mouse pads and some mice that I recommend. And as a side note, getting into the nitty-gritty of mouse pad material, mouse grip style, and those sorts of things are outside the scope of this video. We're focusing more on the fundamentals here, not the frilly things which are pure preference and not directly skill increasing. At this point, let's get into the real-world recommendations and best practices to follow based upon my opinions. Opinions. In my opinion, for Quake Champions in particular, you want a sensitivity that allows you to turn 270 degrees to the left or right from center from the neutral position of your mouse on your mouse pad. If your mouse does not sit in the middle of your mouse pad at rest, move your mouse pad until you're squared up. Alternatively, just get a giant mouse pad. I will never condemn that. Now, of course, before one of you guys gets smart with me in the comments, I know that there are these super wide mouse mats out there that you can put your keyboard on, which is literally what I'm recommending to you in this video. Unless you're playing in a Russian style where you have the keyboard sitting in your lap, centering your mouse on these mouse mats is not possible. So what you're going to do instead, obviously enough, is pick where your keyboard is going to sit, and wherever your keyboard ends on your mouse mat, that is going to be the left side boundary for your mouse, right? And then the right side boundary is going to be literally the edge of your mouse mat. So you're going to place your mouse in the center of that space. And honestly, that should be right about where the natural position of your right hand ends up being anyways. And if you're left-handed, then of course this is going to be really weird for you, but I'm assuming a right-handed mouse user here. So let's just get all of those asterisks out of the way right now. In my opinion, building off that last point, you should always have the largest mouse pad that your desk can accommodate, which will give you the most possible room for your mouse to travel. Thus, you'll have the potential to lower your sensitivity even further and gain better fine control of your mouse. In my opinion, you should not be one of those schmucks that puts their keyboard smack in the middle of their gigantic mouse pads. This is Quake Champions, not our battle stations. Get that keyboard as far to the left as you comfortably can. Let your mouse breathe on that huge mouse pad that you spent all this freaking money on. Your aesthetics should be defined purely by your 40% plus lightning gun, not by your keyboard being centered beautifully under your single ultra-wide monitor. The whole point of you being here is to frag nerds better, so don't care about what your setup looks like, just care about those frags, okay? In my opinion, you should start by setting your mouse DPI to 800 and adjusting your mouse sensitivity using the good old guess and check method. Pick a random number for sensitivity multiplier, let's say 2, then apply it, and then move your mouse from the center of your mouse pad to the left or right edge. Pay attention to how many degrees your character turns, then keep adjusting that multiplier until you get it in the ballpark that you're looking for. As a reminder, for Quake Champions, I think it's about 270 degrees. For Counter-Strike, you're likely going to consider something closer to the ballpark of 90 degrees for that same exact mouse movement. In my opinion, you should never set your DPI above 1600. To the best of my knowledge, very few mouse sensors operate natively above that resolution, and quite frankly, it's going to be way too fast to be comfortable in Windows anyways. If you want to be super sweaty about this, here's what you need to do. Google your current mouse, or a mouse that you're eyeing, and find out what sensor that it has exactly. Then, Google your mouse's sensor, plus the phrase native DPI or native CPI. Always set your mouse to a DPI value that is native to your mouse's sensor, and set it as high as reasonable up to 1600 or maybe 2000. I personally believe, and this is my opinion, that a high DPI and a low sensitivity is best, especially when gaming at high resolutions, in order to mitigate or completely eliminate the advent of pixel skipping. The short of it is, you really don't want to fall victim to pixel skipping. If you're nerdy enough to want to learn more about that, I suggest that you search it up on YouTube, search it up on Google. I'm sure that Rocket Jump Ninja has spoken about this at length in some of his videos. He knows a lot more about this than I do, and it goes into a lot more depth than I care to reach in my own personal video here, but suffice it to say, high DPI, low multiplier in game is going to be what you're generally after. In my opinion, you need to be honest with yourself about how you play games, what situations you want to be strongest in, and which situations you want to mitigate your weaknesses in. Tailor your sensitivity to that. In my opinion, when you first try out a sensitivity, stick with it for at least a couple of days, if not an entire week. Give your body time to adjust to it before you constantly fiddle with it. Let your body build that muscle memory and see where it takes you. If after that time you're still convinced that your sense is too high or too low, then make an adjustment and try again. In my opinion, you should not bother messing with mouse acceleration. Only once you're a very advanced player who has developed much more knowledge about mouse sensitivity should you consider even touching these values. Set your acceleration to 0 and keep it there. In my opinion, you should use a polling rate of either 1000 Hz or 500 Hz. I personally use 1000, but plenty of great players use 500 Hz or sometimes even lower. You very likely won't feel much of a difference of this, or even any difference at all, unless you're a grizzled veteran of competitive FPS, and even then, I really am just not sure if that many people could identify a polling rate difference in a double-blind test. And finally, this is my most important opinion of all of them. While maximizing, or I guess minimizing in this case, your mouse sensitivity is a good thing, agonizing over the minutia of every little setting is not worth your time. Improving the fundamentals of aiming is king. Worrying about minor tweaks to your sensitivity or what material your mouse mat is made of is secondary to good mindset, positioning, and practice. Follow these basic ideas and use these new tools in your pocket to experiment and find what feels right for you. Overall, the methods that I've shown here are going to be completely dependent upon your mouse pad size, but I'm using this as a not so subtle nudge to go get a big mouse pad if you don't already have one and you're able to get one. It's seriously the biggest advantage you can ask for in an FPS when it comes to equipment. The lower that you can set your sensitivity without losing your ability to aim in super close range fights, the better you're going to be. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you've learned something new. If you have any questions or suggestions for future guides, please leave them down below. I try to read every single comment. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care.